Hello and welcome to Rao's IAS 2021 edition of Prelims Test Series discussion videos based on Rao's Prelims Test Series, specially curated for candidates giving the 2021 Prelims examination. Your Prelims exam is around 6 months away, and it's high time that you start solving questions and you solve good number of questions before the final exam, because solving questions and especially solving them in the form of test series helps you revise the entire syllabus on time. You get to know the list of important topics from ocean of topics. It keeps track of your preparation. You get to have the feedback, you get to know your weak areas, and according to that, you can prepare a strategy for yourself that suits you the best. Test series also simulate you for the final exam. It lets you know the competition level. It lets you know the standing of yours in the entire country. Solving many questions from the test series also make you aware of the tips and tricks that can be effectively utilized to solve the prelims paper. All in all, the test series prepare you for the exam. It gives you confidence. It does not let the exam have hold over your nerve. You feel confident on the day of exam, and that makes all the difference. In this process, Rao's IAS always stands with you. And in this context, we have test series of 55 tests, having both static and dynamic tests catering to both the areas of the exam. Initially, the test series offers you topic tests, helping you prepare the subject piece by piece. And then there are thematic tests that test your subject knowledge as a whole. Simultaneously, there are also Focus magazine based current affair tests which are conducted on monthly basis. In this video, we are taking 5 questions from our test series, map it up with UPSC previous year's question so that you understand the pattern of the exam, you understand relevance of those topics. You also get to solve good high quality questions for the coming prelims, and in the process, you also learn smart, intelligent way of approaching prelims question. Altogether, you are going to have insight on 10 topics based on 5 questions from our test series and 5 UPSC's previous year's question. So, let's begin.
Let's begin with discussion of Prelims 2018. This question is important for at least two reasons. One, it deals with conservation of our forest. Forest conservation is a very important issue in the overall context of climate change. It's a very important carbon sink, and you would be aware that under the Paris Agreement, India has targeted to increase carbon sink by 2.5 to 3 billion tons of equivalent carbon dioxide. In the new forest policy again, India has a target of increasing the forest cover to 33% of total geographical area. So forest conservation is always an important issue. Secondly, this question also touches upon the very important issue of welfare of tribal population, especially vulnerable tribal groups. So you can see this question as fusion of these two important burning issues. Let's see this question. Consider the following statements. The definition of critical wildlife habitat is incorporated in the Forest Rights Act 2006. Second statement is, for the first time in India, Bagas have been given habitat rights. Habitat rights meaning habitat right in the forest area. This was in news since 2013-14, but finally in 2016 they were given the habitat rights. But this question was asked in 2018. Since the issue of forest conservation and what approach we must adopt for that is an important one, that is why in 2018 UPSC asked this fact of 2016. The third statement is, Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change officially decides and declares habitat rights for primitive and vulnerable tribal groups in any part of India. First of all, we have stopped using this term primitive. As per the new nomenclature by Ministry of Home Affairs, we use the term particularly vulnerable. We say particularly vulnerable tribal group. And UPSC asked question on this again in 2019. But howsoever, in 2018 UPSC used this term primitive. It is derogatory because culturally the tribal groups are very advanced. To call them primitive is not in good taste. Now coming to solving this question. First of all, in the process of preparation for the exam, you must come across Ministry of Tribal Affairs. And you must observe that the overall issue of tribals, and particularly the important ones, that is dealt by Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Because giving habitat right is not only about forest conservation, it is about the rights of tribals as well. Secondly, in any part of India sounds little extreme. India being a federal polity, states will have say, and India also has grassroots democracy. And decision on such microscopic level of giving habitat rights to some tribal groups in some area of the country that cannot be done by a central authority like Ministry of Environment. So statement 3 will not appeal to your mind, it is plainly wrong. And if you remove that, you will be left with only one option, option A. Now, based on this question of UPSC of 2018, we added a question in our prelims test series. UPSC has the habit of asking extension of concepts that they have already checked in the previous year's question. So it becomes very important for you to be aware of the questions that has been asked and the area from where they have been asking questions. Those areas becomes more important and you need to have more in-depth knowledge of those areas. The question read like this: which of the following rights are guaranteed by the Scheduled Tribe and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006? In short, this is called as Forest Rights Act 2006 as UPSC used in its question. So the question is, what kind of right are given under this act? Title rights, use rights, relief and development rights. The correct answer to the question is option D. All three kind of rights are inclusive of the rights given to the tribal population in the forest right under this legislation. See, title right is actually the right to ownership, but it does not imply land distribution. It does not mean that the area under the forest cover would be given to tribal population, entire of it. There are conditions. First of all, maximum of 4 acres of land will be given to one family, and that is contingent on the condition that that land must be actually cultivated for some time by that family. So if they are inhabitant of that area for quite some time, then only land will be given to them in the form of ownership, and maximum limit for that is 4 hectares. Use right imply that the right to use minor forest produce, the right to use the area as a grazing land. The tribal population in the forest area also has the right for relief and development in case there has been illegal eviction or displacement. The most important thing is here, there is a right for forest management. Tribal population have been very actively conserving forest and wildlife. For example, the Maldharis, they played very important role in conserving gir lions. Similarly, the Bishnoi tribe of Rajasthan, they have played extremely important role in conservation of black bucks. And this is the right where there is fusion of two important interests. One is conservation of forest and the second is conservation of rights of tribal population.
This question is from 2020 prelims paper.
It's a simple question: in which one of the following groups are all the 4 countries members of G20? See, option C you can safely remove. Safely you can assume that Iran will not be the part of the grouping that is led by Western countries. If you can be bold enough, you can remove option B as well. Malaysia is too close to China to be part of Western blocs. If you can be even further bold, you can remove option D with the argument that Singapore is a neutral country, just like Switzerland, just like Oman. But you can also commit a mistake to assume that Turkey will not be in G20 based upon the current strained relation of Turkey with some of the European powers. But remember, Turkey is a member of NATO and Turkey has aspiration of integrating fully with European Union. The correct option is option A. See, G20 is one of the very important international groups. After the financial crisis of 1997-98, it was acknowledged that the participation of major emerging economies is needed on discussion on international financial system. So, G7 countries agreed to establish G20 forum that will include the finance ministers and central bank governors from these 20 countries. It was established in 1998. The member countries of G20 account for 85% of world's GDP and 2/3 of the population. So it's an extremely important body, often in news. So the question was not very difficult. And with this question, you also learn that important strategic, economic, political bodies at international level, they are very important and must be prepared for the exam. Based on discussion, we have asked a question in our prelims test series. The question reads like this. The Indo-Pacific is a politico-economic vision, while the Quad is a military strategic vision. This statement is very standard and absolutely correct. Every major country in and around Indo-Pacific region has its own Indo-Pacific vision, including India. Quad, on the other hand, has a more strategic and military vision. Quad was formed in the aftermath of 2004 tsunami. The purpose was initial cooperation for the disaster relief, but later it took the shape of coordination and joint military exercises. Second statement is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP is the Indo-Pacific's flagship free trade agreement. Indeed, in fact, it's the biggest free trade agreement signed thus far. Third statement is India and China both are the members of Quad. This will be paradoxical because Quad is said to have formed to counter China, to contain it. So China being part of Quad sounds incorrect. Third statement is incorrect. You remove option C and D. First and second statements are basic and correct. So correct option would be option A. Map-based questions are very popular in the UPSC Prelims examination. Every year, UPSC asks at least one such question. This question from Prelims 2019 asked to match the sea with the bordering country. The most easy among all the pairing would be to begin with Red Sea. You would know that Red Sea does not have Syria as a bordering country. UPSC has asked this question before of bordering countries of Red Sea and Mediterranean Sea and Caspian Sea. This region are always so much in news that you would not have any difficulty to identify that Syria is not a literal country of Red Sea. So you will remove the options having pairing 5. So you are left with option A and B. Both has 1 and 4. So you will decide either by 2 or 3. In 2 you have Black Sea, in 3 you have Caspian Sea. With whichever you are more comfortable, you go with that. The bordering countries of Caspian Sea are Kazakhstan, Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran and Turkmenistan. In fact, UPSC has asked this before previously. So Kazakhstan does match with Caspian Sea. You will choose the option that will have pairing 3, that is option B. Pairing 2, by the way, is incorrect because Croatia is not a literal country of Black Sea. If you look into the map, here is Croatia. It's a literal country of Adriatic Sea. Black Sea is here. It's far away from Croatia. We included map-based question in our prelims test series as well. The question is, Armenia touches the borders of which of the following countries? Georgia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Iran, Iraq. Because of the recent conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, that region of the world becomes very important for mapping. If you look in the map, Armenia borders with Georgia, it borders with Turkey, it does not border with Russia, it borders with Iran, and of course, it borders with Azerbaijan. Russia was actually helping Armenia when the conflict arose between Azerbaijan and Armenia. But because Russia didn't have direct border with Armenia, the support could only be indirect. Iran, because of its good relation with Russia, was also helping Armenia, and Iran could do so because it has border with Armenia. Excluding Iraq, the 4 countries mentioned does border with Armenia. So correct option is option B. UPSC has asked this question in the prelims examination of 2018. What is Terminal High Altitude Area Defense? THAAD, sometimes seen in the news. The correct answer is option C. It's an American anti-missile system. It's a pure information-based question. Terminal here refers to the terminal stages of the missiles, the ballistic missiles. When the missiles are coming in and they are in the terminal stage, then the THAAD system, which is in connection with other ground stations and also satellites, will shoot the missile down. The system does not carry any warhead, so that if the incoming missile has a nuclear warhead, then that will not be detonated. There will be no nuclear blast, and the area around the missile will be safeguarded. Because perhaps that area will be the area of the country operating THAAD, because that will operate only in the terminal stage, and in the terminal stage the missile would already be in your territory. The system simply uses the kinetic energy to annihilate the incoming missiles. See, missiles, satellite systems, defense strategic equipments, they are very important for the prelims examination. It has to be covered within the larger science and tech portion. Every year, 1 to 2 questions will be there on strategic defense equipments or technologies. From this area, we have asked many questions in our prelims test series. One of the questions is this. Consider the following statement about SMART. SMART here stands for Supersonic Missile Assisted Release of Torpedo. Torpedoes are defense technologies that runs underwater. It may also have nuclear warheads that will blast when it gets in contact with the enemy property or it is in the vicinity of those properties. Missile assisted torpedo will actually mean that the missile system will carry the torpedo with greater speed. And the missile that we have used for the SMART system is Shaurya. The two statements given in the question reads like this. SMART is a missile assisted release of lightweight anti-submarine torpedo system for anti-submarine warfare operations far beyond torpedo range. Because it is missile assisted, so it will go far beyond the torpedo range. This is absolutely correct statement. The second statement is, it covers most of its flight in the air at lower altitude with two-way data link from the warship and an airborne submarine target detection system. It has to be. All these technologies have two-way data link. Otherwise, how will the target be detected and neutralized? Both statements are very factual, both are correct. Correct option would be option C. This question is from 2018 prelims paper. They asked to match the terms in news with the context. The easiest among all is option 3, CRISPR-Cas9. This is a kind of biological scissor and this is related with biotechnology, not particle physics. Particle physics basically deals with the nuclear particles. Bailey experiment is also related with particle physics. It is experiment on mesons. But however, if you remove pairing 3, you'll have only option B as the answer. A question similar to this was asked in the Prelims Test Series of Rouse IAS. The question is this. The Nobel Prize in Chemistry 2020 was awarded for the development of CRISPR-Cas9 genetic scissors, a method for genome editing. Which of the following are possible applications of CRISPR-Cas9? In the question it is mentioned CRISPR-Cas9 genetic scissor, meaning it can cut off the gene, it can cut certain section of the gene and join the DNA again. And gene, decides everything that happens in the body. So its application would be as vast as you can imagine. And generally in question like this, the answer would be all of the above. Indeed, the answer to this question is option D, 1, 2 and 3. We have come to the end of this video. There will be many more videos for practice and for knowing the pattern of the exam and learning tips and tricks to attempt the prelims examination. So stay tuned and keep learning.